Hey everyone, Scoobyfoo here, and it's the end of the season once again, which means it's time to get sentimental and look back at what's happened in Destiny over the last 3 months, with a peek into what I've done in that time as well, because, I do things, sometimes. Anyways, May 11th, Day 1, Season of the Splicer launches, and I hope you like Honeydew. To pass the time, I played Helltaker since that had just gotten a couple of extra levels, and after that was some COD zombies with Lucille. Then, after 4 hours, we were finally able to enter queue, which only took about 20 minutes to get through. I get in, explore the tower for a bit, and after Lucille and my partner Holly get through the queue as well, we start the seasonal story. The introductory quest for the seasonal story is great. We go to an override, and afterwards, Lucille and I spend quite a while listening to Ido talk about Elixni culture. I have a soft spot for the Fallen and Elixni. I took a look at the artifact as well, and if I remember correctly, I didn't think Breach and Clear was going to be ran that much. That can be recorded as something I was extremely wrong about. Let's get this one out of the way. Transmog is a thing that literally exists, and that is the only objective thing I can say about it. I don't want this video to focus on transmog too much, as I immediately grew tired of the discussion around it, since I figured that nobody's mind would ever be changed by any arguments for either side, so all I'm gonna say is this. I'm fine with the system. The cap is unnecessary, but barely affects me, since I only change my outfit once or twice per season, and the time gating through Synth Court is something I barely ever noticed in actual play. That's all I have to say about it as it's currently implemented, though I know that they're gonna just let you purchase the transmog bounties with Glimmer next season, which is nice. There will be no more mentions of the transmog system in this video. If you're gonna talk about it in the comments, all I ask is to keep it civil. As for the override itself, even now at the end of the season, I still consider it a solid activity. I enjoy the moat mechanics, and I like that there's no Sparrow to the next part section like we had in Battlegrounds. The closest thing there is for that is the initial run to the boss when the vortex opens. But those have slides that are fun to use, and can be shortened with Splicer Gauntlet upgrades. In terms of rewards, I found the decrypted data you get from a run to be pretty small on day 1, but that was quickly increased through season pass ranks and Splicer Gauntlet upgrades, up to the point where you got enough data from one run to focus one of the 50-50 engrams. Looking at the general suite of both new and returning weapons we got day 1, I'm quite happy with nearly all of it. Ignition Code, Chroma Rush, and Grid Skipper all have solid places in my armory, though things like Farewell and Survivor's Epitaph missed the mark for me personally. I'd like to specifically call out Ignition Code as one of my favorite weapons to come from this season, as I was really starting to miss having a kinetic grenade launcher after Malicious Birthright got sunset. Also, we did a Deepstone Crypt. This wouldn't be notable, except for the fact that it was now dropping spoils on its first completion instead of on repeats, meaning that we had no farm for Spoils of Conquest until VOG came out. There were also some minor changes to the third encounter of Deepstone Crypt, but nothing important. Also, Cryosthesia. I don't have much to say on it. I tried it a bit and quickly took it off to run a different exotic. I still haven't completed the catalyst on it, and to be honest, I'm not sure when I will. Also, finally, Team Scorched returned this season, with some good changes like rocket jumping being a thing, and abilities like Icarus Dash being disabled. That marks the end of me playing on day 1. I ended up talking a bit about Altair, linked to their blog in the description, but that's for a different time. May 12th, Day 2. The Legend and Master Lost sectors have switched over, and the new leg exotics are available. After not too many runs, I get Boots of the Assembler, and I'm an instant fan. Unfortunately, they would end up going through some turmoil with balance changes over the season, but luckily they would eventually be returned to slightly better than their original state. I would also go and get Star Eater Scales on that day, which of course proved to be a very potent exotic, until they got nerfed and a bug that allowed the increased super damage to apply to your weapons got fixed. That pretty much closes out the first week of Splicer, a very good first impression. May 18th. Week 2. A new override location on the moon unlocks, and we've got another weekly story quest much like we had in Season of the Chosen. Seems like this'll be the standard for a bit, which I'm totally fine with. We also got Iron Banner with some new weapons. The only important one for me was Reese Walker, which I did luckily get a decent roll of. Very good gun. However, something much more important than all that happened on week 2, Day 1 Vault of Glass. I ran Titan with my clanmates Milk, Trader Kirk, and Strider on Hunter, and Muncha Koopas and Shockwave on Warlock. After 12 hours and 46 minutes, 5.5 hours of which we spent on regular Atheon, we got our Day 1 clear and emblem, the 557th fire team to do so. I always enjoy Day 1 raids, and well, it's unfortunate that we got stuck on regular Atheon for as long as we did. I'm overall pretty happy with our performance. Nothing else of note really happened in week 2, just some Isaac streams, working on videos, practicing Deepstone Crypt speedruns for SGDQ 2021. Wait, what? Yeah, it was around this time that we got Deepstone Crypt accepted into a GDQ, something we had been practicing since not long after the raid itself came out. I'll talk more about that later, though. May 25th, week 3. Another episode of the story, yet another new override location is unlocked. This time it's on the Tangled Shore, and along with that, we got Expunge Labyrinth, the first of many expunge missions which were a nice addition to the weekly story and would eventually become just a bit more than that. Not much else happened in week 3, once again just some more work on videos, streams, speedruns, all that kind of stuff. June 1st, week 4. Happy Pride Month from your local disaster bisexual. No new overrides anymore, but we did get another episode of the story, another new expunge mission in the form of expunge sticks, and a cutscene?
Once, in a city grander even than yours, we prospered. But it did not last. Our great machine abandoned us. And when we pursued it, you sent something back. A creature fueled by hatred. It tore through our great houses like they were nothing. And then it came for the rest of us. Nowhere was safe from its insatiable rage. In its eyes, even the most innocent of Elixni were still fallen. It could die, but it would not stay dead. It would shake off the rot and rise again. And if it caught you in its crushing embrace, impaled you on its ragged crest, dragged you screaming into its foul shell, none live to speak of these horrors. It called itself the Saint. My people must now see the creature every day. It sees us. If we wish to survive, we must all learn to live alongside our monsters.
Wow. Holy shit. Just, wow. Remember when I said I had a soft spot for the Fallen and Elixni? This right here is why. The Vex are unfeeling robots that deserve no sympathy. The Hive are a rampaging murder species that literally has to keep killing to survive. The Taken are more of a slave species with no will of their own, and the Cabal, while we are currently not at war with them thanks to the events of Season of the Chosen, are still a very combat-driven, warring society that prefers to take things by force, through total enslavement or annihilation of other species. The Elixni, however, are in the unique position of being, as far as I can tell, a peaceful society, or at least they were back on Reese. This, along with the fact that unlike the Hive, Vex, Taken, and as far as I'm aware, the Cabal, the Elixni have, as this story shows, had innocent civilians very much killed by a Guardian in an act of crusading revenge, allowing empathy for the Elixni and seeing a true long-lasting alliance between them and humanity to be much, much easier than with any other species. For me, up to now, it's always felt like Elixni and humanity could have very easily been close allies in another life or another timeline, except, well, now we might be in that timeline. This cutscene does wonders for humanizing the Elixni, and also, in my opinion, is completely necessary for Saint 14's character arc to happen and make sense, which is why this is one of, if not the seasonal highlight for me. However, that is all we got on Week 4. Quality over quantity, fine by me. June 8th, Week 5 is here, which means we're officially over a month into the season. Iron Banner is back again, and we get our third expunge mission, Expunge Tartarus. Once again, it's fine. Iron Banner is cool, but how are we feeling about the season so far? For me, overrides are starting to become a little boring. Not necessarily bad, it's just that now that everyone's familiar with it, you can feel the enemy density not quite being high enough anymore. I keep doing them anyways because the rewards are good, and again, it's not bad, just can get samey doing them on repeat thanks to only one override being available per week. Expunge missions are cool, as I said before, however I don't really do them more than I need to for the weekly quests, since their rewards are just kinda whatever. As for the story, if you couldn't tell, I'm all in on it. I mean, after the cutscene from last week, how could I not be? Unfortunately, it does look like we're not getting another Harbinger or Presage type mission this season, but I get it, those things cannot be easy to make. Definitely positive on the season as of a month in, let's hope this positivity continues. June 15th, Week 6. Vault of Glass challenges are back, which is nice for some extra loot when the challenge is easy, but it's overall kind of whatever. More importantly, we got another expunge mission, but it's fucked. This is the week we finally had Kuria, and thus Savathun, revealed as the true antagonist for this season. That's right, the Witch Queen that's been getting teased for over 2 years now is finally making some proper moves on the last city. Is it just me, or is Osiris sounding kind of sus? I'm sure it's nothing. One final thing to note for this week is that it introduced corrupted key codes and a new column of Splicer Gauntlet upgrades alongside the new expunge mission type. With these corrupted key codes, you could open a chest at the end of a corrupted expunge to get decrypted data and weapons or armor, just like an override. At this point, I nearly completely stopped doing overrides, since corrupted key codes dropped often enough that they aren't that much of a bottleneck, and any expunge will be faster than an override once you start optimizing it. Another great week overall. The story is really starting to heat up now that we have a proper antagonist. June 22nd, Week 7 is a quiet week, just giving us another corrupted expunge mission and opening up GMs. Of course, the first one was Glassway. Very funny, Bungie. I don't really have anything to say about the Nightfall weapons that wouldn't require its own video, so let's just move on. June 29th, Week 8. Another Iron Banner, and the final week of new expunge missions. Expunge Tartarus goes as more or less expected, but afterwards we also unlock Expunge Delphi. With this, we finally go after Kuria directly, and after a satisfying but somewhat easy fight, because this is story content that needs to be beatable by people much worse at the game than you or I, Kuria, Blade Transform, is dead. Huzzah. This marks the end of the not-so-endless night, but not the end of the seasonal story. Lakshmi is really spinning up the xenophobia as of recently, which is a problem, but that's for later. It's time to celebrate. July 6th, Week 8, and it's Solstice of Heroes time. But it's also Master Vogue time. But Moon Weapons have also been reissued. More importantly than all of that, it's GDQ week. That's a lot. Let's cover GDQ since that's probably the quickest one. This belongs in the personal section more than it does here, really, but, shut up. Me, Bystander Tim, Shockwave, Milk, Muncha Koopas, and Trader Kirk submitted the any % run of Deepstone Crypt for SGDQ 2021, and it got accepted. The run, card and link in the description for it, went off almost without a hitch. Shock got to have his emotional moment at the end of the run, big ups to him for landing the job at Bungie. Working with Dado and Cammy for commentary was wonderful, I really just couldn't be happier about it. Solstice of Heroes is pretty much the same as last year. The new Compass Rose shotgun is alright. I never got a good enough roll to keep over what I already have, so there's that. The EAZ is always fun enough, and the armor progress bonuses you get for completing sets on other characters makes getting all 3 sets completed quite achievable. As for the armor itself, I like that this year ditched the cracked aesthetic of last year's armor in exchange for something sleeker, something I might actually want to wear without the big blows in some looks. Because of that, and the general PvE sandbox as of writing, this has actually been my favorite Solstice so far. Bite me. Let's address the 1350 power elephant in the room, that dang ol' master difficulty level of Vault of Glass. You've heard the complaints. 1350 power is too high, power grinding is boring, they should have made it 1330 and enabled contest mode instead. It's just too hard. Can I be rude here? Really, I try my best to make things accessible and to be open to options. I think you'll find that in my videos. I usually do my best to give alternative choices for weapons and all that. I'm saying all this to try and make this clear. Accessibility in trying things in Destiny 2 is important to me. Now then, let's cover what I've seen as the most common pain points with Master Vogue, in no particular order of importance over each other, except for the first one, because I think it's kinda the crux of most people's problems. Actually, before anything else, I want to put this little thing to sleep. You do not, I repeat, do not have to be 1350 or even 1340 to enter Master Vogue. Are there LFG groups that will require that? Yes, there are people who are requiring 10 plus clears in Deepstone Crypt LFGs within the first week. Some people in an LFG Discord requiring 1345 plus power in their post doesn't mean you have to be that to do the raid at all. I would call the true recommended power of Master Vogue to be 1330, maybe 1335 to be a little more comfortable. Every single point of power above that will help, yes, but that doesn't make it required. With that out of the way, the biggest pain point I can see is this. The power grind is boring, and I feel like this point of view is outdated. Back in, say, Season of the Worthy, I'd actually 100% agree with you, but now we have seasonal challenges. Doing those, a moderate amount of bounties, and Vogue every week for pinnacles, all of which I think is not a lot to ask for if you want to do the hardest content in the game, should easily land you at 1319 or 1320 power on your gear. RNG, am I right? And a plus 14 power bonus, probably higher. That puts you at around 1335 total power, 15 below Master Vogue, and right at the point I find Master Vogue is more comfortable to do. Not easy, just not, getting two-shot by a goblin. Next pain point, I don't have the time to reach Pinnacle Cap and get enough of a power bonus. Too bad. Yeah, this isn't for you. Bungie wanted to make that's one singular piece of content aside from Master Nightfalls or Lost Sectors that rewards grinding your power level up past what's needed for GMs. I want to stress that again. This is one of 3 pieces of content in the game, the entire game, that gives you any reason at all to be higher than 1335 power. Does this mean that some people may not get to do Master Vogue? Yes, it does. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Having aspirational content that you have to work up to over time is extremely important for people who hardcore grind the game. If you're the kind of person who spends 8 hours every day grinding up power level, farming god rolls for weapons, all that stuff, right now Master Vogue is your best, if not only place to show all that off at once, where to truly thrive you do need to be quite dedicated to the game. Doesn't that seem important to have for that group of players? I think it is, but of course I think it is. I am one of those players. I like having content that challenges me, even with a plus 23 power bonus that doesn't do it by just slapping contest on it and calling it a day. Despite all those harsh words, I am empathetic towards anyone who wants to do Master Vogue but has their time taken up by work, family, school, whatever it may be. That does suck, but I would suggest just doing regular Vogue instead. Yes, you'll be missing out on time-lost weapons, but if you could get those without doing Master Vogue, then what's the point of having it? Final pain point. It's too damn hard. I want to just say get good and leave it at that, but that doesn't really change anyone's mind or help the situation at all. Instead, I'll ask some questions. Are you at least 1330 or 1335 power? Are you running the correct resist mods for a given encounter? Are you running a protective light setup to stop you from getting shredded by ads? Are you team-shotting HVTs like champions, wyverns, or cyclopses? Are you running resists and protective light? Why aren't you running resists and protective light? Are you running a subclass like Bottom Tree Striker that doesn't fit with high-level content? If so, why aren't you running a meta subclass? Examples being Stasis, Top Tree Nova Bomb, or Middle Tree Sentinel. Are you running a weapon that can quickly deal with HVTs? Are you sticking to cover that gives you a good place to heal if you take too much damage? The list really keeps going, but I think that's all the most important things to mention. If you are doing all that, running meta weapons and subclasses, a good mod setup, sticking with your team, respecting the enemies enough to stay in cover, etc., and are still unable to clear the raid, then all I can suggest is to either continue increasing your power level to even the odds, or go do Grandmaster Nightfalls to get used to playing in activities where each individual enemy requires at least a little respect. Or just, like, get good, you know? That's all the pain points with Master Vogue. Alright, I get it, don't get me copyright claimed. Artificial difficulty. I hate those words. I get it. Just pumping up the health and damage of enemies is boring and lazy. Master Vogue should have increased mechanical difficulty instead. Whatever. First off, I want to make this point real quick. All difficulty in this game is artificial. All of it. Technically speaking, there's no reason that Bungie couldn't have just let you launch Vogue and get all the rewards immediately. Am I being pedantic? Yes, extremely. Because I don't think that the artificial difficulty argument is a very good one, so I'm not going to put too much thought into responding to it. My point is simple. The mechanics of an encounter cannot be difficult without being ridiculously precise if the enemies shooting at you are not a threat. And the easiest way to achieve that is through increasing their health and damage. To add on to that, it seems that whenever a boss is very mechanically difficult through requiring precise timing and execution, the majority of the Destiny community will either do everything in their power to skip the mechanics, see riven cheesing and how a new method is always found when one gets nerfed, or if the mechanics can't be skipped, people will simply call it a bad boss and avoid doing it altogether. See Valkaur and how nobody ever wanted to do Spire of Stars, or the Sanctified Mind and Garden of Salvation for a lesser example. So, if it wasn't clear at this point, here's my condensed thoughts on Master Vogue. I like it. I think it was a good decision to set it to 1350 instead of putting Contest on, as that lets people slowly crawl up to its level rather than being locked at minus 20 power. I also like the additional champions, sometimes forcing you to split up your champion mods instead of everyone being able to run the same one. I haven't talked about the loot yet, but I really like how they did time-lost weapons. Using them as a way to reintroduce curated roles back into the game was something I certainly wasn't expecting. And while some are better than others, Vision of Confluence getting Zen Moment and Full Auto, even the bad ones at least have those perks removed from the pool of random rolled perks, giving you a slightly higher chance to get the god roll you're looking for. Overall, I think I just like that there's a raid that makes you feel accomplished when you beat it, as that's in low supply right now in Destiny. Now that we're done with Master Vogue, let's talk cheese, I mean moon weapons. They're a mixed bag. Loud Lullaby came back rolling a completely stacked set of perks. One Small Step filled the niche of a good kinetic pellet shotgun. Arc Logic has some pretty good rolls, and Love and Death is a very explodey boy. Some weapons, though... Poor Tranquility. Can't win them all. And with that, we're finally done with Week 8. Christ. Nothing in specific really happened in Week 9, 10, and 11. Solstice of Heroes kept being a thing, Master Vogue challenges, and thus the loot kept rotating. Not a whole lot to say. Honestly, same goes for August 3rd, Week 12. Solstice of Heroes ends, we get our final week of Iron Banner for the season, but that's it. Things are really winding down at this point. Though we're not quite done yet. August 10th, the second to last week of the season, and the last hurrah for Season of the Splicer. The epilogue plays out, seeing Lakshmi try to open a Vex portal in the Elixni quarter of the city to send the Elixni back from where they came, and instead just opening a regular portal into Vex space, dying in the process. Good riddance. But also shit. We defend and shut down the portal in one final new override space, and damn, does it feel good to fight in the Botsa district again. Afterwards, we get one last cutscene, where Ikora, Zavala, and even Amanda get to, do things. Saint and Mithrax become true brothers in arms, and I'm pretty sure I saw Osiris vent. Afterwards, we get to talk a bit more to Saint and Ikora. Saint reaffirms that House Light is under his protection from now on, and Ikora informs us that the factions have either dissolved or left entirely, and that she can't locate Osiris. Okay, I promise that's the last one. Things are looking... well, they could be worse. People much smarter than I have explained in detail why the factions leaving is actually really, really bad, so I'll just sum it as this. There's no governing body focused on civilian issues anymore. Plus, they left a power vacuum, and power vacuums don't like being empty. As I said though, it could be worse. At least the Elixni seem to be integrating with the city folk more easily now that Lakshmi isn't spewing xenophobic nonsense 24/7. Plus, we did defeat the Endless Night. And that's where I thought we would've caught up to the present, but there was one last surprise waiting for us. August 17th, week 14, the final week of the season. Only one very small thing happened this week. Upon logging in, we received a quest to visit the Splicer servitor one final time, then to go visit the joint Elixni Human Memorial. A short dialogue from Mithrax happens, and in 7 days, the season will be over. And so, we've caught up to the present, or at least the present as of writing. Bungie has a big reveal trailer planned for August 24th, which I will restream. Subscribe if you want to be notified when it happens. But that's it. So before we get into how the channel and I did over the last few months, how do I feel about the season as a whole? Overall, quite positive. I found the story of the season to be very gripping, and thanks to Vogue and Master Vogue supplementing the other seasonal loops, I ended up not really taking a break from Destiny like I did this time last year during Season of the Worthy. I'm very excited for the reveal stream on the 24th, and I'm cautiously optimistic about the overall future of Destiny 2. And there you have it, Season of the Splicer. But what was I doing during that time? Hi, the camera's gonna be on me for this part. Well, here in Nova Scotia, there's not too much happening. Pandemic measures are more or less still in effect, even if I have received both doses of the vaccine. By the way, I'm very clearly reading this from a script, even this part about reading from a script. You'll have to deal with the lack of eye contact. Me, personally, I've been doing okay. I'm in a long-distance relationship with my partner Holly, who you've almost certainly seen on stream at some point or another. I love them dearly, but it has admittedly been quite hard on the both of us. We're holding as strong as we can, but that doesn't change that we haven't seen each other in 6 months now, and we may not get to for a few more. It sucks. Full stop. Don't worry about me, though. I've been very lucky throughout the last year and a half in almost every single way. I am doing just fine. In my other aspects of personal life, around halfway through the season, I started playing Ring Fit Adventure, and while it hasn't resulted in any huge bulking muscles, and it never will because it does more for stamina than direct strength training, I have noticed an appreciable increase in my ability to get where I need to on a bike. I've gone from starting around difficulty level 7, and by now I've gotten up to level 21, so something has to be happening with my muscles. And yeah, both physically and mentally, I'm doing pretty well. I take Monday and Friday off of doing anything for YouTube, most of the time, using those days to work out with Ring Fit and get out of the house on my bike for a bit, usually to grab a cone of ice cream. It keeps me active and at least getting a bit of fresh air, so I don't think there's much else to say about myself without oversharing. How's the whole YouTube thing going? Pretty well. I released 15 videos, including shorts, over Season of the Splicer, managed to stream fairly consistently, primarily playing Destiny 2 as you'd expect, but also playing a good deal of The Binding of Isaac and Hollow Knight. In terms of growth, over the last 90 days, I jumped from 118 subscribers up to 322. My new highest viewed video is my short review of Reese Walker, sitting at 25,000 views. Christ, that's a big number. And overall, I've been having a blast of a time. I don't want to focus too much on analytics and numbers, so let's have a look at the future for me, the channel, and Destiny, because this is also a video about the game Destiny 2. What's the next 3 months look like for me? More video games, probably, but also continuing to keep fit physically and mentally, along with potentially going down to the US to see Holly for a month, though that's nowhere near confirmed yet. For the channel, only one major change. I will be moving my streams to Altair when it launches in November. Altair is a new streaming service, headed with things like mental health, community over numbers, and an ad-free experience at its core. I'll explain what the hell that all means and how everything's gonna work closer to when I'm making the switch, but here's your early warning now. Videos will continue to exist here on YouTube, and I may still export the VODs to a playlist or second channel. So if you're just here for weapon reviews and stuff like that, don't worry about a thing. For Destiny, I pretty much have no idea. We're getting a Trials rework, the meta is set to change once again with upcoming armor, mods, subclass, and weapon changes, and Savathun is gonna kill us all! Or maybe she's gonna try to ally with us. Or maybe we're actually gonna fight Xivu Arath. I don't know. Funnily enough, despite this video already being well over half an hour long, there's still more I could mention, like the various balance patches completely swinging the PvP meta around. But let's just wrap this up before the video becomes an hour long. Thank you for watching, with an extra special thanks if you've decided to watch the whole thing through. If you enjoyed, do consider dropping a like, leave a comment with your own thoughts on the season if you feel so inclined. Join the Discord and follow me on Twitter if you like those places. And of course, subscribe to make the number go up so that I can get closer to making money! Oh hey, a dime!